right, we can get started. Next slide. All right, quick introductions, right? So myself, I'm Sahil Kukreja. I grew up in Delhi and then got my bachelor's in finance and entrepreneurship from the Kelley School of Business in the US. And I spent 7 years in consulting, worked in the US for 5 years post my degree. And it was with a data analytics firm called Mu Sigma. And then I also had the unique opportunity of working in London for a year as well. So I have experienced life in both the US and UK. And post-COVID, I have moved back to Delhi to be with family. And I'm part of the Athena team now. And I'm very happy to be hosting this webinar today and to give you insights as to, what was my experience like. Yeah, I know it's been a while. 9 years is a long time, but, I have some wisdom to share on how you can network and get job opportunities in the US. And we'll get into that later in the presentation. But over to Tanya ma'am now.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Tanya. I'm from Kolkata. I did my undergrad from Christ University. I studied media and communication, English literature, and psychology. After that, I went to the UK for my master's. I studied critical and cultural theory there. So this was directly, opportunities after undergraduate in the UK. Would love to touch upon that more as we go on. After that, I've come here. I've been working with Athena since last year. I'm a senior writer here, so I'm going to be working with you guys, all students here, throughout your application process, working on your essays and other parts of your profile.
Great. Okay. All right. So next, of course, we have the strength of the programs itself, right? So of course, with the US, I went to Kelley, which is the business school at Indiana University. So that again just shows you one, obviously change right there in the US system, wherein you have a university with schools that are a part of the university system. So you have a business school, you have an engineering school, so you have specialty schools under that umbrella. And of course, Kelley is ranked in the top 10 business schools in the US. So that was a big focus for me. I was a typical commerce with math kid back in the day. And so business is what I intended to study. And I had the unique opportunity of, applying to Kelley. And then, of course, I worked hard and I got into the business school after year one. And when I was obviously choosing my major, I had, again, the flexibility of, not choosing or declaring my major up until my third year of my 4-year program. So, of course, that's one big difference right there, where the US is a 4-year program, right, Tanya?
Yeah, the UK is a 3-year program for undergrads. The master's is a 1-year program, which I attended. But also interestingly, Kelley School of Business is one of the only few programs that allow undergrads to directly enter the School of Business in the UK or US. Otherwise, you have to be in the master's program to do that. But at the University of Warwick, like I mentioned, I studied critical and cultural theory, which is part of the humanities department. Mine was a 1-year program, but usually, apart from honors courses, all majors in the UK are 3 years. Academically, UK is a lot more rigorous than the US is. I believe the US focuses a lot more on a more holistic development for students, but the UK is very linear. You choose your major before you join and you stick to it throughout. Not to say that you can't take modules from other courses as well, other departments. You do have the provision for that at most universities, but those options are limited and not as varied as in the US.
Yeah, and Sneha, if we go to the next slide, of course, the college life, right? Like, yeah, I know that picture is me, but that was 9 years ago. I was a college kid, so please excuse me there. But yes, so that is like a typical college town in America, right? So obviously the Kelley School is located in a small town called Bloomington, Indiana. So that you probably never heard of it, but it is an hour and a half south of Indianapolis, or 3 hours a bus ride away from Chicago, right? And it's a beautiful campus. Again, 2,000 acres. So you never have to really leave campus. You have enough things to do in the campus, so many clubs to join as well. And what you see there in the picture, of course, is Indiana is known for being a basketball state. So again, sports is a huge part of the US, program as well, and the US colleges. And Indiana has a great basketball team called the Hoosiers. That's our mascot as well. So that school spirit is definitely shown through that picture. And even 9 years later, I still identify as a Hoosier. So definitely that school spirit is something that stays with you when you graduate from the US, right? That's one difference.
Yeah, in the UK, school spirit is not as evident or as prominent as in the US. But Warwick, for example, was located in Coventry, which is very close to Birmingham, very close to London. London is still the financial hub of the world, and most opportunities, even post-graduation, lie there. So that way it's easy or convenient for you to have access to the city. Other cities like Manchester also great to visit frequently for networking events, etc. But believe scholarship opportunities in the UK are limited for international students, especially those offered by universities themselves. But there are a lot of external scholarships, such as the Chevening Scholarship, the Commonwealth Scholarship, or the Charles Wallace India Trust. So these are still options that can be explored. The cost of studying in the UK is slightly less, especially because of the 3-year versus 4-year program difference, but it also varies depending on which city you're living in or what areas you're living in.
Right, exactly. But yes, that is one big difference between the two countries. Of course, UK is largely 3-year programs, whereas US is 4. So of course your cost is going to be higher. And even if and of course, you take the city into account as well. So if you're living in a big city in the US, say New York or LA, your residential costs are going to be much higher than, say, a college town like where I was, where rent was still, not that high as compared to the big city. So again, these are things for you to consider, that you can save a lot on your overall 4-year cost if you choose a public university versus a private university in the US as well, right? And of course, one more thing about the campus life itself. The US, especially the public schools, which are the bigger schools, they're big into Greek life. So fraternities and sororities are a huge part of your experience on campus. And yes, and they basically teach you about brotherhood and obviously community service, etc. as well. And you don't have to really join a social fraternity as well. There are business fraternities as well, which are co-ed. So again, for males and females to join. And again, you can learn a lot about, how to network through these clubs. And these are the clubs that actually help facilitate your jobs, which we'll come to later in the slide as well.
Absolutely.
Right. And of course, I think UK has a few cool clubs as well. Yeah. Tanya, you were mentioning.
Yeah, not so much a Greek life culture there, but definitely have a lot of student bodies at all of these universities. At Warwick, we had a Quidditch team, for example. And we pretended to play Quidditch. Yeah, that was student bodies are big in the UK as well. Of course, these are great for networking opportunities, like Salsa mentioned, and are definitely leveraged by all undergrad students. Yeah.
Do you have sororities in the UK?
No sororities. But even in terms of sporting cultures, although like you don't have big teams, like the US does, the UK does encourage you to participate in some extracurriculars. For example, at Warwick, we had a sports and wellness hub with access to a bunch of different games. Those are still options.
Yeah, and you still have your traditional sports in the UK.
Yeah.
Of course, you have cricket, rugby, etc., where people play that. But yes, US, it's just so much more part. There's so much more competition because there's a body called the NCAA that has sports programs for all colleges across the US, because there are so many colleges in the US. And so it's amazing where they've come up with these different leagues across, the different states. And that really encourages you to have a rivalry. So say, for example, me being at Indiana, Purdue was our biggest rival, right? Like they were like that India-Pakistan rivalry that we had. Because these are two universities within the state of Indiana, right? So we always have this back and forth. And I had a buddy go to Purdue, and I still give him, some banter when Indiana beats Purdue, right? So that again stays with you. I still try to follow, not as much, but I try to keep up with the scoring of how they're doing, right? And I was lucky enough that my senior year, they were number one in the country going into the season. So I had, a great opportunity to see some future NBA players who are making $100 million in the NBA now. Yeah. So that doesn't make me feel good, but at least I can say I took some classes with these guys. So that's again the cool part about the US. So that was obviously about the life. Now I think it's more about the academics we can discuss as well as to how, same slide as well.
Same.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry, yeah, back to the same slide. So obviously, in terms of the academic style itself also, right, it is very different in the US versus UK. And obviously, you guys are coming from different programs yourself, most of you in India, but also the ma'am joining us from Singapore, must be a different board. So in the US, it is more multiple choice questions as well, right, your exams. So it's a lot more straightforward. It's not a lot rote learning, which you're used to in India. It's about, you study for what you have to, and it's either right or wrong, right? It's multiple choice, it's straightforward, you have 5 options. Whereas I believe, Tanya, yeah.
Yeah, the examination system in the UK, Indian students would find that much more easier to kind of adapt. They are very assignment focused, or even examinations, depends on what major or department you're in again. But these are not as frequent as in the US, I believe.
Yes, one other thing about the US is it keeps you on your toes. So every 2 to 3 weeks, you will have an exam or an assignment or a pop quiz, right? And which is good because it's not like that thing is going to come again at the end, right? They wait well that you study something for a bit, you take an exam, boom, then you move on to the next section, right? So it's a lot more practical based and application based as well. So I really appreciated that, right? Coming from the Indian system where I only had to study for a portion and then give an exam on that, and then I can move forward and look at something else, right? And you don't have to remember that entire thing for your final exam. Your final exam is a totally different subject than what you started out for your first exam. And of course, the GPA scale in the US, most colleges are out of 4.0. Some do have a 4.3 scale, but that's rare. Mostly it's out of 4.0. So anything above a 3.5 is considered really good. And obviously above a 3.7 is you're doing really well in college. Whereas in the UK, I believe the scoring is a lot different.
Yes, Sir and I were just discussing yesterday. In the UK, if you get a 70% or above, you achieve your first class. But in the US, that's the minimum number that you're required to achieve in order to graduate. But the UK follows the distinction first class, second class system, which a lot of Indian universities also do. Again, like I said, easier for you to adapt to. But for us, we had assignments to submit after every semester. That was just one big essay or dissertations that we had to do. No frequent examinations at all, which was also more convenient. You could focus on other things throughout.
Exactly. Yes. So that's of course, one more huge difference between the two.
Yeah.
Right.
Then also another, as Alsa mentioned, he had the option to switch his major or choose his major later on.
Yes. So I went in as a typical business management. That's what I thought I wanted to study. Then obviously I was exposed to different subjects like your marketing, operations, finance, and strategy in my 3rd year. And so at the end of my first semester of my junior year, which is my 3rd year in the US, that is when I finally decided, yes, I like finance. I want to do finance. And I supplemented that with a secondary major in entrepreneurship, as well as I did a minor in psychology as well, right? So this is where that holistic program of the US comes into play, where my first 2 years, I had to take classes in philosophy, psychology, etc. So it teaches you to think about different subjects as well. And then obviously in year 3 is when you hone in into what you want to study. And so year 3 and year 4 are more, core classes that you take for your majors. And obviously those class sizes are small, right? Even though you might have started out in a big lecture hall in a public university with 200 kids in a university your first year, but your finance classes are then back to being a 30 to 40 people, classroom.
Hey, is it true that you guys had to study subjects like Western civilization, ethics? Are these compulsory?
Yes, so you do have to take subjects from different categories. Okay. But the good part is you can pick and choose what you want to take. Let me see, which other interesting class did I take? I had an introduction to criminal law class as well, which I really like that class as well. It just taught me how, the criminal justice system in America works, and how obviously it's always been, favoring one class of society always. So that was very interesting as an 18-year-old coming and learning about that. And it's not just serious stuff. I also have a cool class to tell you guys about. Again, this is the beauty about the US system. So in my final semester, I was like, hey, I've done enough studying. I need to take some cool classes as well. So I took a class on bowling. Yes, I said that right, bowling, my last semester. And it was all about, you obviously go into class and you bowl, but in addition to that, you do learn some math as well, because it teaches you how the scoring system in bowling works as well. So in fact, I had a midterm and a final as well, which I could get out of if I, scored well on if I scored a certain amount of points, which I did, so I didn't have to take the final. But the midterm again taught me how to do scoring as well, right? So if you tell me what comes after a spare, I'll be able to tell you that next time we go bowling. So again, these are some cool classes that you can take as well.
Yeah, pretty different from for the UK. The UK appreciates students who have clarity about what they want to study, and they've explored that field a certain bit, and want to take that further in the UK. As somebody who did my undergrad from India, I studied a triple major. Like I mentioned, I studied media, psychology, and English literature. Although I really appreciated the breadth of subjects that I was able to study, I also do think there was value in exploring just one linear subject, which the UK allows you to do, right? You get like a jack of all, master of none approach never works for all of us. And I think that was what I appreciated during my master's the most, that I could study what I wanted to and study it in depth, as opposed to taking multiple different things. Although even in the UK, I did have the option to take up courses from like the business department, or even STEM courses. I had options to take up modules alongside my other compulsory modules.
Yeah, and I think one more thing, especially for you guys, because most of you are going to be international students, right? We were discussing this. Welcome week is obviously a big aspect of that.
Yeah.
So we would encourage all of you, to get there like 2 weeks before, because that's a great way to just, assimilate in the environment. I remember I went 2 weeks before college started in the US, and that really helped me adjust to life. Then you already have friends before you get into that first week of class, right? So you're not daunted by going into class. You already have a good network of people that you met. And of course, you guys already have WhatsApp. So you guys can also connect before you leave for the US as well, based on the people going from your same city or same school, etc. as well, right? So that's again something I would very much encourage you guys to take advantage of all the activities that are there in Welcome Week, because again, it helps you assimilate to the environment there. And done in the UK as well.
Yeah, you should also connect to like the Facebook pages. At Warwick, we had the Warwick Indian Society. All of these were already done by seniors that were studying at Warwick. They were very easy to approach, made things a lot easier for international students, particularly from India. Definitely make use of these opportunities before you head out, and do make time for the Freshers Week. Freshers Week is what we call that in the UK.
Yeah, Misha, I think you have a question. I guess if we can take it now, just a quick one.
Yeah, I was asking what are the limitations in the UK in terms of like the courses you can take? Like if you're a humanities major, there must be some limitations, right? You can't just do all STEM courses.
Oh no, it depends on your major, it depends on your university, depends on what other departments they're collaborating with. So can't really give you like a very broad answer on that. But for us, because I studied critical and cultural theory, I was allowed to take I think 2 economics courses were given to me. Like I had the option to study them, as well as business courses.
So no like sciences.
For me, we didn't have sciences, but I know other friends who studied business or even psychology. They had the option to study courses from the science department.
Yeah, so there are a few schools, Misha, that allow you that flexibility, but in the UK, it's mostly, what you're going to study, you're studying that for 3 years. That's the big difference, where It's a little more rigid and old-fashioned, whereas in the US it's a little more flexible and open-minded, right? You can have this holistic approach and take different classes from a variety of different subject areas. Yeah. Oh, and one other fact, like obviously part-time, I don't know how many of you guys are interested in part-time work on campus, but that is also a big component of helping out with tuition, etc. So in the US, you can work part-time for 20 hours during a semester and 40 hours if not during the semester. And again, this is a great way, one, to get a social security number in America, which is needed if you want to get a job post that as well. So you get a head start there. And also, just learn more about how, because a lot of kids in the US also do part-time jobs. Like you don't really have to work in the the dining society or etc. You can even get a position as a resident assistant in the dorm that you live, right? So obviously America is huge into dorms, and they have resident assistants who actually get paid a lot.
Yeah, this was the same
just
in the UK.
So just think of it as a paid class monitor, if you like, right? So you just got to have to inspect how the dorm is at night, etc., and you get a cool room to yourself as well. And I had to share my room with a roommate, so it's like the RAs had this cool room to themselves. So we were always jealous of the RAs. Yes.
So pretty similar in the UK, you had that option as well. You could also tutor other students.
Yes, that's always a good one.
So that's also an option. But the same in the UK, you can work for 20 hours during your semesters and for 40 outside of it. Also, one more thing that I wanted to mention, we all know about the Ivy Leagues, but the UK also has a group of universities called the Russell Group. And I believe a lot of international students don't have that context. But for example, Warwick was a Russell Group university, Cambridge, Durham, Imperial, King's College, UCL, all of these are part of this group. And these are, universities that have been selected based on their research and academic rigor, and definitely, makes for a stronger application when you're applying to jobs. If you're from a Russell Group university, you do get an advantage in the job market. Something to be noted.
And that network stays with you for life. So that's what, you're going to college, of course, but you have to think about post-college as well, which we'll get into. So that network is very important no matter where you go.
Yeah, big difference between Ivy Leagues and Russell Group universities. Ivy Leagues are all set, you have those,
right.
And these have been the Ivy Leagues forever, whereas Russell Groups are more like application based. So for example, Durham, which is such an old institution, I think it was taken into the group in like 2000 after an assessment period.
Yeah. And yes, one more key difference before we move on to the next slide is, of course, in the UK, I believe you're limited to 5, yes?
Yes.
So you can touch upon that.
Yeah.
And of course, US, you can apply to as many colleges as you want, which can be a boon and a bane, depending on how you look at it. So yeah, obviously we don't encourage you to apply to every college there is, but you can come up with at least 10 good schools to apply to. I think that's a good number. That's more than I was allowed back in my day. So you guys are luckier again for that. And of course, UK is very fixed, where you just have 5 schools to choose from. So there again, strategy plays a huge role, and we help with that as well, as to how do you now choose those 5 colleges in the UK, right, that you want to apply to. And of course, you can bucket them into dream, target, and safety. So obviously with 5, you can obviously limit it to just maybe like 1 dream, 3 target, and 1 safety, right? Or you can pick and choose based on your profile and how strong you think it is.
Yeah, that's typically the approach we go for. There's one portal, whereas in the UK there are multiple, but in the UK you only have the UCAS through which you can apply. 5 universities only in a single application year. You can either apply to Oxford or to Cambridge. Can't apply to both together, and you have to choose 5. And it rarely ever happens, but if you're not selected by any 5 of these universities, then you do get the option to apply for more. But you start with these 5.
Amisha, I believe you have another question.
No, I forgot to lower my hand. Sorry.
Oh, sweet. Right. I think we can go ahead then, yeah. All right, although it says best courses for jobs, I would still start with the caveat that you should do what's best for you, right? Whatever you're going to study is what you want to do, because every child and person is different and what they want to study is different. So have that in mind as well. However, the reality is also that when you look at jobs in the US, right, having a STEM major does help a lot, right? If you do have an engineering or CS or any other major that is STEM certified, then you get a 3-year work visa, right? The DOPT or the optional practical training that you get is a 3-year work visa, whereas otherwise it's just a 1-year visa. So you will get a 1-year visa no matter what you study post your undergraduate degree. And we'll get into the other visa that you apply for a little later on, but that's that. But yes, of course, STEM is a huge component for jobs, as well as your other great majors for jobs in the US are finance, accounting, economics, and business analytics. These are proven majors. And I would say the 3 main areas post-undergrad that you can look at in the US to work in are, one is, of course, your old traditional finance companies, right? And accounting, which is, I guess, now that's old-fashioned, because now you have tech companies. So tech is where a lot of people are applying for. And that's what I mentioned. Business analytics is a great course. I myself worked in 7 years in a data analytics company. So I can tell you firsthand that analytics is like got huge potential in America, right? Every Fortune 500 company in the US uses analytics to make decisions, right? They're light years ahead of India. And of course, you can obviously also get the third thing, which is consulting, right? And obviously there are different elements to consulting. So all the big 4 are huge recruiters, in the US as well, which is your EY, PwC, KPMG, and Deloitte. So they hire in droves from many universities. Even at Kelly, all 4 would come. And obviously they would look more for a finance and accounting background for your traditional accounting standard roles. However, now they have, this newer roles in analytics as well that they have divisions for. So I would highly encourage you guys to start thinking about, these fields to look in.
Are there any specific regions in the US that are more popular for or better for certain majors?
Yes. So I would say that, say, for example, Misha, what do you want to study? Do you know?
Media.
All right. Then you should be in New York or LA. There's no 2 questions about it, right? Like that is the kind of strategy you should already have, because all the media companies are either in New York or LA. So I would highly suggest that you have schools in that area among your list as well. So for example, for me in Kelly, Chicago being the closest big city, a lot of Kelly kids end up in Chicago because obviously it's, top 5 city in the US, got a lot of companies there. And so a lot of kids get jobs in Chicago post their degree at Kelly, right? So again, that geographical location makes a huge difference. All the Chicago companies come on campus to Kelly, right? So that takes away a lot of the work.
I had a question. Psychology is counted as a Bachelor of Science in some universities, right? So do you get a 3-year work visa if you do psychology as well?
You can check that specifically for that course on that university, if it's STEM certified. I doubt it. I don't think at an undergrad level psychology has a STEM certification, but you can definitely check with that specific school, because some schools have different formats of how they've applied for, right?
And do you only get this work visa if it's your major, or does it work for minor and double majors too?
No, major.
Okay.
Yeah, do we want to touch upon UK as well? Yeah.
Absolutely. In the UK, finance is definitely the most sought after major. Like I mentioned, London is the financial hub, financial capital. So that really affects what the job market looks like. Education, engineering are also big industries to explore. So are healthcare, marketing, and HR. If you know languages such as German or Italian or Mandarin or Spanish, you can also teach these. A lot of international students do that. And lots of opportunities open up if you know an additional language in the UK. So again, that's part of education, but just wanted to mention that.
Any other questions on this slide as such? Oh, all right. Yes, this is something that we definitely wanted to highlight as well. The role of the Career Services Office itself, right? So in the US, it's very structured, right? You have these institutions that have been around again for 200 plus years, most of them, right? So they have a very structured program wherein college is a feeder to corporate America, right? So you have campus fairs, right next to you on campus, right? So again, like I was mentioning, you don't have to do the heavy lifting of go looking for companies. The companies are coming right to you. However, of course, you have to put yourself, forward and present your best self, right? So again, networking is huge in America, and I would highly recommend you guys as freshmen should go and leverage and go to events, and even if you just get free meals, which is what you should do, but also start talking to people as well, right? So that when you're a sophomore, you're much more confident when you talk to these companies, right? That's something that obviously I did not know. And I spent my year one getting into Kelly instead of networking, which was also important as well. And then I only started networking my year two, right? So I would highly encourage you guys. And that's the beauty about America. Like, no one's going to stop you. You can go as a freshman to a college fair, right? Like, it's up to you. You can just go in and obviously meet people. And another strategy I would suggest is, say, for example, you have your top 10 dream companies that you want to work for. Make a list of 20, go talk to the ones at the bottom of your list first, get the nerves out of the way, use it as a dress rehearsal, so that when you go in and meet the companies that you're actually interested in, you'll be obviously much more confident, and you know the kind of questions the recruiters are also asking of you, right? So that's one tip I would highly recommend.
Applicable for the UK as well. Definitely attend as many networking events as you can. At Warwick, we used to have informational fairs where a bunch of different companies would come. Warwick is a school really popular for finance and business majors, so those companies would visit more often. But informational interviews are also a good way for you to get to know recruiters who you should be networking with very frequently. Like Salsa mentioned, make a list of the companies that you're interested in and start reaching out to these recruiters. We also had offices for international students. They conducted very frequent workshops for us. We had, how to clean up your resume, how to write a good cover letter, how to approach your interviews, etc. Make use of these not just to gather the information, but to also, again, network with the others who are attending to kind of build your base there.
All right, I think we're good on this one. Yep. We can go to the next slide. All right, yes. So work visas, post-studies, right? Obviously, we touched upon it a bit, but we can highlight it again. So like I said, the OPT is the one-year visa that you do get, right? If you do have a STEM course, right, then you get a 3-year OPT. So what that means is you at least have 3 years of uninterrupted work visa post your undergraduate studies, right? And within that 1 year or 3 years, what the company does is that you get hired for is they apply for an H-1B visa, right? Which gives you a visa for up to 6 years. So obviously, if you get that H-1B visa, year one, you're sorted, and it covers you for the next 6 years. However, because it's a lottery system, basically so many applications that they get every year from companies around the world, then you don't get a shot the next year if you don't have that STEM degree. So then your fallback option becomes you can add it up with a master's degree, a 1-year master's degree, right? So again, something for you to consider. Do I want to complement my 4-year undergrad with 1 year of a master's degree and get myself in a good place and get my studies out of the way, right? And some schools even do a 3+2 MBA program. So at Kelly, you had a 3+2 MBA program where in 5 years, you can get an undergraduate degree and an MBA degree, and then you're sorted. But that is, again, something very personal, because my belief is that you still have work experience and then get your MBA. That's always better. So you can complement with another master's degree for sure. Yeah.
In the UK, two very exciting new opportunities have cropped up. The government has just introduced the graduate route visa last year. So if you've completed your undergrad or your postgrad study in the UK and you hold it your 4 visa, you are granted 2 years post your degree to find a job. If you have a doctoral degree, then you get 3 years. Another opportunity that's just opened up is the high potential individual visa. This is a short-term work visa. If you graduate from a leading university in America, Singapore, bunch of global universities, there's a whole list. We can share that with you. You get the short-term work visa. This is to encourage people from across the world to come and kind of contribute to the British economy. but very, very exciting. Previously, like when I went to the UK, I had 6 months after my master's degree, which is not sufficient at all. But this is very exciting, and 2 years will be more than ample.
How
Yes.
much is short term?
Sorry.
How long is short term?
I'll just check and get back to you on that.
Yes, but the obviously the beauty about this is that the UK government has finally realized that they need international students to run their economy. So they have made it more friendly now, right? A 2-year visa post-graduation is pretty liberal without, having a job in hand. It doesn't mean you're comfortable and you can live there for 2 years, but at least you have that flexibility of not being, in that panic mode at the end of your 3rd year of really, if you don't have a job, you're going to be out of the country, right? Like you have some time to search
Right.
for that job.
Which definitely happened with a lot of my friends when I was at Warwick. So really, really exciting. Misha, the duration is also 2 years after the HPI. But this is obviously after you graduate from another university,
Yes.
not in the UK.
Not in the UK, correct. Bunch of good schools, a lot of US schools on that list as well. So yeah, I mean, definitely you can end up at UK later in your life as well, like I did. So life can take you in different places for sure. All right.
So
I think we're good with this one as well. Yes, so jobs itself, right? I think this one, I'm gonna have some fun here. So the US, of course, the economy is so big, right? Like they have this list called the Fortune 500 companies, which are the 500 largest companies in the US by revenue. And so obviously starting with, I guess I should open it up to the audience first. What do you think is the Fortune 1 company without Googling? Can I get some guesses here? Ms. Sharma? What, are you an Apple user or an Android user? What? Do you think Apple is Fortune?
Yes, Apple user.
Okay, but do you think Apple is number 1? All right, Navya says Amazon. No, that's close, but that's not correct. Krishna's got it. There you go. I hope you didn't Google that. No, it's not Google. It is in fact Walmart. Yes. It's got $500 billion in revenue, right? That is just crazy. So obviously the US has that scale, right? Obviously one being such a massive country geographically as well, the opportunities are just immense, right? So that is, of course, what US has going for them. The economy is very strong, and of course, it is the strongest economy in the world, right? And the other aspect, of course, is the networking that I touched upon. That plays a crucial role as you go up the corporate ladder in America as well. And where you went to school is always something you can connect with to other people as well. So, in fact, I had colleagues in other companies. And when I would say that, hey, I'm from Kelly, and if they were also Kelly alumni, they would, they had a smile on their face. So you have that network for life because they know you've been through the program and you've, obviously come through it. So they know you are of a certain capability, right? So that always stays with you as well. And the third point is very important, which we didn't stress earlier, is your junior year in the US, which is your 3rd year, is immensely crucial if you want to get a job, because that is when most people get their summer internships, and those summer internships lead to full-time job offers if you played your cards right and if you've done a good job. So I would highly recommend all of you guys to secure an internship in your junior year with that dream company that you're looking for.
Same goes for the UK. Definitely take advantage of internships and summer jobs. So many of my friends converted the internships into full-time offers. You should, especially because you have only 3 years, right? That's a shorter duration. Make use of internships, which are easier to secure for international students compared to jobs, especially because the UK does not offer placement opportunities at most universities. This is a good way for you to get an in and, get your footing inside.
And of course, like I won't sugarcoat it, it is harder for international students to get jobs, but it is not impossible, right? So many people get it. It is up to you how you present yourself. The opportunities are there.
Yep.
So yes, it is up to you and the work you put in. and of course how you present yourself to the companies. You do your research beforehand, what the position is for, and like I said, that internship will also allow you to say that, hey, actually I don't think this is right for me, right? So then post that junior year or summer year, when you get into your senior year, which is where that fall of senior year is crucial for recruiting, you can go in and talk to more companies and understand more as to, okay, I didn't like this part, I don't want to do a marketing job, I want to do something else. You can start that afresh as well, right? So there's two different approaches you can play with.
Yeah, and for international students, it's so crucial for you guys to start applying as early as you can. Don't wait till the last few months, because especially for international students, visa becomes such a hassle. You need sponsors, and you need plans in place before you plan to stay there. You need your opportunities and options. Another tip for the UK would be to go for small or medium-sized enterprises. Build your way up. Start small. It's easier to get in there again for your jobs, and then work your way up the ladder.
Right, and of course the starting salaries in the US, again, of course this is just a range, but at an undergrad level you can expect anywhere from $60,000 to $200,000 after your undergrad, depending on what you study and where you study, which is a good salary range post your undergrad degree for sure.
Definitely. In the UK, that would range between 35 to 55.
Yeah. And again, that's where the economies come into play as well. UK is a different standard of living. They have different salary structures. And the US, of course, the higher you climb the corporate ladder, there is no limit in the US to what you can get to.
Yeah, in the UK, it's also very common to take up, postgraduate studies after you're done, right? But in the US, I think that's rarer. That's also a big marker. I think that's why starting salaries differ so much between the UK and the US.
Right. All right. This is something that we thought would also be relevant for today's topic. Of course, COVID has changed everybody's priorities and life as well in the last 2 years. So obviously one big thing that happened in the US, not just the US all over, but largely also in the US, is the term, the Great Resignation. Can someone tell me what that is? What happened? What is the Great Resignation? Anyone on the call, Krishna? Krishna, do you want to answer that? Or okay, yeah, that's smart. Obviously, that's yes, but why? Due to pay cuts. Not just that. No, that's not entirely true. But yes, that's part. But that's not why it happened. But yes, like the Great Resignation was basically a lot of people's priorities changed post-COVID as to what they wanted to do. Right? They were probably stuck in their jobs, didn't know what was next. So they all wanted to take a break from life as well and also enjoy, the other sides of life. So a lot of people quit their jobs and decided to take a break and then look for something which is more flexible, right? Everybody's life changed as well. You don't even need to go to the office, right? So that changed the entire model of all these big companies, wherein they'd been pushing for years that you have to come into office 5 days a week. But now everyone realized that, hey, you can work from home and Zoom is just perfect, right? So obviously a lot of people started thinking based on where they are at life. If you have families, you want to spend more time with kids. So they obviously resigned and sort out more jobs which are more flexible in nature, that give them that hybrid option of working from home for a few days a week and take into account other aspects as well, and not just the money that they're getting. And of course, yes.
The opportunity to not have to live in like urban areas or densely populated areas, or live wherever you want to, live a more peaceful life, and still work and earn the same amount.
Absolutely, like Tanya, that's a great point again. Like that flexibility of not being in your cubicle at work, but working from anywhere and getting that job done. Definitely for some people that was a big reason for why they chose to move jobs as well, right? And then again, you guys did put some great points as well for the other aspects as to the inflation is high in the US as of now. But the good part is, like, America is known for resilience, right? They never back down, right? Their economy just has to keep running. So obviously the jobs are getting back to pre-pandemic level. Yeah, thanks, Krishna. And of course, with Mr. Biden in charge as well, that is good for you guys as well, because he obviously Democrats are more immigration friendly than who was there before, right? I will not name him. Exactly. There you go. We got some UK reference in there as well. So yeah, that was some facts about what the US economy is looking at right now. Yeah, Tanya, do you want to take UK as well?
Yeah. For the UK, unfortunately, Brexit and the pandemic kind of hit together and really did affect the job market significantly for a while there. But that is recovering, like we mentioned, with the visa opportunities. The government is looking to kind of solidify their forces again and help things pick up for students all around. Especially with Brexit, a lot of opportunities have opened up for non-EU students. So as Indian students, even from Singapore, Mr. Sharma is joining. This is a great opportunity. Lots of EU students or people who've been working already, they're quitting now, they're moving out of the UK. All of these opportunities are great for us too.
Correct. So in summary, like Brexit is actually good for you guys and us Indians, because that competition that used to be of the Europeans who could just freely get these jobs, that's gone.
Exactly.
So now it's a level playing field for everyone who's non-British. So obviously, for the Indians there as well, they can get these jobs now that were, not open to them beforehand. So that's definitely a plus point for the UK as well.
Yep.
Yeah, we to consider.
So.
Before this, I'd like to, open it up. Do you guys have any questions that we can help you answer? Go back.
If you're not comfortable with speaking, you can also drop your questions in the chat section.
I believe Gurnaz had a question. Where are scholarship opportunities more, US or UK? So in the US, you get more scholarship opportunities for international students that are offered by the universities, financial aid, or like other scholarship opportunities are also much more significant in the US, both in terms of the number and also in terms of how much aid you're getting. In the UK, this is limited, especially at the undergrad level. But there, like I mentioned, there are a lot of external opportunities that you can still look at, such as the Achieving Scholarship, which is really big. We can again share a list if you'd like.
Yeah,
but
Krishna.
The US is definitely.
I think Krishna has a question. Yeah, Krishna, go ahead.
Yeah, what about acceptance rates in US versus UK? What would be the chances?
Acceptance rates are much lower in the US. I think that's why you can apply to so many colleges. Acceptance rates are much higher in the UK for sure. That being said, depends on what college you're applying to. But yeah.
Also, not just what college, but what major you're applying for.
What major you're applying.
So that's where again we at Athena help you with that strategy. In you could probably you'll have to probably not go for a CS at Stanford, but some other major at Stanford, right? So we have a young girl going to Stanford from Bangalore this year, and she's studying history at Stanford.
Okay.
And again, the beauty about America is she's going in as a history major at Stanford, but she can go there and change to something else, right? So these are the strategies that we help you with based on your passion to get you into the colleges that you want, right? So again, it's very tailored to what you want and the major that you want, Krishna.
Yeah, it depends on your approach. Do you care more about the university you're going for or going to, or the major you're going for? You can definitely switch majors after you're there, but depends on your approach and your risk appetite.
All right, I like that. More questions, please. Rashmi, right. Yes, ma'am, that's how the UK economy works. The salary range is that, and obviously outside of London, that's not a bad salary. That's a good salary in, say, a Manchester or Birmingham, depending on where you live, right? London is obviously the single most expensive city in not just the UK, but the world. So if you're open to other cities for living as well, then have that in mind. But Yes, these are the salary ranges in the UK. That's how they're structured.
Yeah. And like I mentioned, ma'am, because in the UK, it's more common for students to take up studies after their undergrad degrees as well. That's why starting salaries for undergraduates is lower. Whereas in the US, that's less common. And I think that affects starting salaries a lot.
Yes, of course, if you do an MBA or master's in the UK, you obviously start out at a much higher range, right? But whereas in America, like the undergrad system is also built, like people go to colleges to get jobs. It's just a feeder system for all the corporate America that exists. So hence their salary ranges are so high to begin with, which is relative to the US, cost of living as well. So please take that into account also. Like, for example, $60,000 in New York is not a lot, but $60,000 in Bentonville, Arkansas, where Walmart is located, is quite good. Right? You can make good money there.
Okay,
All right,
thank
love
you.
it. All right, more questions, please. That was good. Thank you, Ms. Sharma. Come on, did we guys do such a good job? Right, I guess, what are you guys leaning towards, US or UK after this discussion? That's what we should ask.
So Gurnath just sent me another question.
Okay.
I'm currently in the 12th grade. Starting from now, can I still do well for college applications in terms of ECS? I'm assuming that means economics. How can I get help from Athena in this aspect?
All right, I guess we can go to the next slide, in fact, and then just talk about what we do at Athena, right? So of course, we at Athena are, an 8-year-old organization, right, based here in Gurgaon, but are very happy to announce that we have 2 more physical centers now in Bangalore and Bombay as of last month. So we're in 3 locations now in India. We've mentored over 500 kids, right? And obviously, students who've been with us have got into not just the every single Ivy League college that's mentioned there, but top colleges across the world. Obviously, the most popular countries being the US, UK, and Canada. But we have kids who've gone to other countries as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
Singapore.
yes, Singapore, of course, with your NTU and SMU and NUS as well. And obviously, the 11 countries that I mentioned there is that just being in Gurgaon, we've had kids from 11 different countries with us. So obviously, as we expand as an organization, I'm sure we'll get kids from a lot more countries who are with us. So we do have, ma'am, a lot of kids from Singapore with us, a lot of kids from the US already with us as well. So the online model works just perfect. Of course, however, some people do have that offline advantage if you're in one of these 3 cities. So I would highly encourage the student from Pune also to go check out our Bombay office.
Well, absolutely. When you join Athena, you join a network of
Right.
international students, and it's a great, great opportunity to have. Yeah. This is the application process, and we help with every single aspect of this process, be it your academics or your extracurriculars, essays, your recommendation letters, interview prep. We're there with you, every step of the way. We build roadmaps for you and ensure everything is progressing the way it's supposed to before your applications. All essays go through a 3-layered editing process with us. All projects are vetted by industry experts. We have Ms. Priya, who is herself a Harvard alum, and she reviews every single profile for every scholar. Recommendations letters, also we make sure you're choosing the right teachers, you're writing the right content. An interview, we bring in experts, we bring in alumni from different universities, and we prep you for these.
Yes, and Miss Priya not just herself went to Harvard, but she sent both her daughters to Harvard as well. So she definitely knows how to get into
Absolutely.
the Ivies.
So we have students from 8th grade to 12th grade. In fact, we have 6th and 7th graders also, because our focus is not just college applications, but starting to prepare you for college applications in time. Right now, the top universities acceptance rate, at least in the US, is at an average of 6%. And imagine with the increasing number of applications, it's gonna keep decreasing. Hence, we're recommending more and more scholars to start early with us, right? So that we can put a lot of strategy on their profile building part. We also help with the execution of the projects, and then we can move forward with the college applications in the longer run.
Yeah. Even in terms of test prep, we've partnered with Satin Paper. We work very closely with them for all our students. They are the leading, organization for test prep these days, especially in the Delhi NCR region. So again,
Yeah, and one
make
other
sure
thing
that-
we'd like to highlight here is obviously the difference in the US versus UK on what it takes to get into a good university, right? So what you see on the top is obviously true for both, which is the academics bit, right?
building block of all applications.
Yeah. But for the US, you have to take these other tests to set yourself apart from other international students,
Okay.
like your Indians in Singapore, like your Indians in Emiratis, your Indian Americans. So the SAT or ACT is a good benchmark for universities to say that, okay, great, you've got your good high school grades, but you've also done well at this, test that is an international benchmark, right? So that is something obviously that we encourage kids to do. And then the extracurriculars is huge in the US, right? You have to have a good capstone or research project that will take your profile to the next level, right? Essays is, of course, again, very big part of the US process. The way you tell your story and articulate your personality through that essay really helps you get in, right? Even if your score might not be in the top, but a little lower than the top, that essay can make or break your application, right? That's how important it is.
There are going to be many essays.
Yes, there are many essays in the US process.
Especially in the US, yeah.
But of course, in the UK, also a very different statement of purpose that is required to be written.
There's one essay that's needed, goes out to all 5 colleges. We make sure it's stellar and perfect. Even for the UK, you do have some exams that are required for top universities. For example, Cambridge, Oxford, they require certain tests for certain majors, but these are not as rigorous as the ACT or SAT is, by much less prep. Yeah, interviews are pretty big in the UK. Oxbridge always, invites students to interview with them. In the US, these are less evaluative, more informational. You can kind of chat with alumni. But in the UK, these are always evaluative, which means that they're assessing if you're a good fit for this university or not. Even in terms of recommendation letters, the US requires 3. The UK requires just 1 standard letter of recommendation. That's also a big difference in the process. And yeah, extracurriculars are not so big in the UK. You want to make sure your academics are in place. You want to make sure your SC is in place, and you're mostly good to go. But obviously, to write the essay, you need a lot of extracurriculars.
Correct.
Like about. So we make sure that you're working towards that goal.
Yeah, and we do have academies that
Every
obviously
Saturday.
help hone your writing skills as well, right? So that no matter if you join us in 10th, 11th, by the time you come into your end of class 11, you're in a much better position to write those essays, right? And you're not nervous or panic mode at the end.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. I think, we can take more questions now. So I believe Krishna has his hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, what if I don't have good grades? I have average grades, but really good extracurriculars, like over the top extracurriculars.
Like, tell me what extracurricular have you done?
Oh, okay. So I play soccer, played for my school for like 2 to 3 years. I freelanced for 2 whole years, helped my family financially for a lot of time. I'm almost proficient in almost all coding frameworks, like you name them, just name them. Okay. I'm currently working on an ML system on chaos theory. I don't know if you know chaos theory. It's like okay, so in one line, it's like predicting the unpredictable. Okay, I'm
Chaos
working on
theory,
an algorithm. Yeah.
So you work for it.
Yeah.
So-
And I know a lot of physics. I understand I understand the standard model of particle physics, both mathematically and theoretically. So I guess that counts it. Oh, and I'm the nerd of nerds. Like if every nerd in existence came to make a holy nerd, that would be me. Shit. Yeah.
It's like UK might be intended destination. They like nerds there.
But Krishna, so every project that our scholars work on, we evaluate them according to certain parameters. We call it the FC Big. We look at feasibility, creativity, how it's aligning with your brand as a scholar, the impact that it's creating or the value that it's adding to your community, to other people's lives, the external validation that you're getting for this project, and how it's helping you grow as somebody who's been working on this for a while. We evaluate your project along these parameters. Even if your academics aren't in place so far, an upward trajectory is always appreciated. So make sure that going forward, you're picking that up, because academics are definitely the foundation of any application, right? You want to make sure that you're able to demonstrate that once you go to these universities, you're going to be able to remain at par with all of these students that they're selecting from across the world. And demonstrating that is most easily done through your academics, right?
I'm not bad at studying. I just don't like giving exams.
That's okay. Just get through it and then get to college. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Any other questions? That we can help you with?
All right. As a follow-up, we're gonna send you an email with details about our program. So in case you're interested, feel free to hop on for our counseling session, which is held thrice a week. Other than that, we're happy to get on a call with you one-on-one to discuss your case. So yes, we hope that you had a great session. Any parting words, Sahil and Tanya? Any last piece of advice for
I just
our
wanna
scholars? Yeah,
ask
scholars.
people what are they leaning towards now after the call? Is it UK or US? Can we get some answers here for fun? Ms. Sharma, what are you leaning towards for your daughter?
I think she is more keen for USA because it has a holistic approach. That's why, and
Right.
but it depends on her marks, of course. And
Absolutely.
so let's see.
Great, yeah, no, absolutely. It is definitely holistic education what you're looking for, then that's the choice. Any other answers as well? Anyone who want to share? Well, you can, get the English accent there as well.
I told you.
That's true. Yeah, the Quidditch definitely is a cool thing to have in the UK.
Think about the Harry Potter tours you can take up.
Well, anyway, I think thank you all for joining us today. It was, I think, a great session for us, and hopefully for you as well. And like Krishna mentioned, we would love for you to learn more about Athena. So maybe there's an application form that we can also send out Prishta to the attendees so that they don't have to attend the call. And yeah, please, if you'd like to learn more and leverage us, you can fill out the application form that Prishta will share. And post that application form, there's an interview that's done with one of our team members, again, to assess not just your grades, yes, that of course, but also the ambition that you have, where you want to go. Do you want to put in the work to get into these top colleges? And then obviously the humility as well, right? Do you understand, of course, what it takes to get into these colleges, and you're willing to work hard, right? So we're really hoping that that gets through to our students. So yeah, thank you all for joining.
Thank you so much.
Have a good day. Bye.